Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the state capitol and welcome to the 34th annual Caltrans Fallen Workers Memorial Commemoration. I'm Kevin Riggs, former political reporter and political analyst for KCRA Channel 3 right here in Sacramento, and it's my honor to serve as your host for today's special ceremony. At this time, would you please stand, and gentlemen, please remove your hats for the national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Thank you, and please be seated. Please help me at this time to thank Mr. Rob Roy, our bagpiper, the Caltrans Quartet, consisting of Annaline Myers, Joe Rouse, Tom O'Hare, and Jay Connerly, for their rendition of the national anthem, and the Caltrans Color Guard for its respectful presentation of the American and California flags. We'd also like to thank Mr. Anthony Johnson from Caltrans Office of Emergency Management for providing background music prior to the beginning of the ceremony. Those who are joining us by live stream, you missed out on some wonderful music. We'd also like to take this time to acknowledge the sponsors who have helped to make today's ceremony possible. The American Track Safety Services Association, who provided the National Traveling Wall of Fallen Transportation Workers. The California Highway Patrol, members of which you see behind me here this morning at the Capitol, Caltrans and CHP, work hand in hand to provide the citizens of California with a safe and state-of-the-art state highway system. The California Transportation Foundation, the California Chaplain Corps, the Sacramento Law Enforcement Chaplaincy, the Flasher Barricade Association, and Capitol Barricade. Thanks to all of you for helping the Caltrans to put on this important event today. And important certainly is the word that applies. We're here today to remember the men and women of Caltrans, and before it, the Division of Highways, who have died in the line of duty since 1921. We stand with them and their surviving family members, approximately 70 of whom are with us today. We want to thank them for their years of service to the department and the people of California, to honor their memories as casualties of an often perilous profession. and to remind us all that safety on the highways and interstates is a communal effort and shared responsibility of every single driver. Family members are here today representing from District 1, Daniel Bresky. From District 2, Joseph Robert Jones and Sean Baker. From District 3, Matthew White and Ann McCormick. From District 4, Quanda McGadney, Duwan Bush, Perry Stilts, and Donald D.W. Anderson. From District 7, Juan Thome and David Guillen. From District 8, Thomas Ortega. From District 10, Chet Hawkins and Roland Keller. And from Caltrans headquarters, John Gilmore, Jr. And finally, Caltrans is also remembering today retired Colonel Bill Tubbs of the California State Guard. Bill served as the bagpiper and bugler of this annual ceremony for more than a decade before his passing late last year. His wife Liz is also here with us today, and she has been, dare I say, instrumental in helping us to find Rob Roy, our new bagpiper. And with that, please allow me to introduce Chaplain Mindy Russell, Executive Director of the California Chaplain Corps, to give this morning's invocation.
Good morning. If you would just bow your heads with me as I lead you into a word of invocation. Almighty God, creator of life, carrier of hope, make your presence known among us today. Enabling us to brave in our remembering, honest in our sorrow, and open in love and compassion to each other. Help us to seek not so much answers to our questions, but rather the patience to mourn and grieve. Enable us to remember with joy the lives of those we have loved. Because we share our grief together, the weight of mourning is divided. Because we share our love together, the memories are multiplied. Send us your peace today, O God. Amen. Thank you.
Please welcome the Caltrans Honor Guard, a group of highly decorated and exemplary Caltrans employees who train year-round to serve at this event and throughout the state when called upon. The Honor Guard is under the direction of Captain Alex Valdez, a 12-year member of the Guard and employee in the Caltrans Office of Traffic Operations. Please note the single black cone in the middle of the diamond. This cone represents all fallen transportation workers, including employees, contractors, and partners who've been lost across the nation. Meantime, the orange cones that form the diamond surrounding the Great Seal of the state of California are draped with black ribbons, each of which contains the name of a Caltrans worker who has died in the line of duty. It's now my duty and privilege to introduce and invite to the podium Mr. Tokes Omashakan, Secretary of the California State Transportation Agency. Mr. Secretary.
On December 3rd, 103 years ago, at 2 a.m. on a cool morning, death in the line of duty struck the Caltrans team for the first time. Working for what was then known as the California Department of Highways, J.D. Archer, a civil engineer, a father of 2 daughters, a husband. He worked as an inspector and a surveyor in District 1, skidded off the road into a crash, and died likely instantaneously. Since then, 192 more lives have been lost in the line of duty in service to our great state. Sadness, pain, and loss are always instilled in a day like today. But we must remember that honor, remembrance, and gratitude are embedded in it as well. We mark today's observance in united strength, an opportunity to be here for one another and represent our 193 fallen and always cherished workers. Their devastating loss touches us all. And we're thankful for everybody here to honor their families. And I want to specifically thank family members who are here today. This is always a very emotional day for all of us, but especially for you. I want you to know that the State Transportation family is here for you today and always. Thank you to Kevin Riggs, the KCRA political analyst, for your gracious hosting of today's event. And thanks to many of our executive CalSTA team members who are fighting the safety work, along with many of us who are here with me on the dais today. You will hear from Caltrans Director Tony Tavares later today. CHP Commissioner Sean DeRee is not here, but representing him is Deputy Commissioner Troy Lukes. Office of Traffic Safety Director Barbara Rooney is present. The Director of the DMV, Steve Gordon, is present. Alyssa Canove of the Federal Highway Administration is present. And the CTC Director, Tanisha Taylor, is also here, and the High Speed Rail CEO, Brian Kelly, as well. I also want to recognize several former Caltrans directors and chief deputy directors. If you don't mind waving where you are, see many in the audience here. Thank you for being here. They fought this safety fight for many years as well. Thank you. I also want to recognize Assembly Member Lori Wilson. There she is. Assembly Member, good to see you. She's the chair of the Assembly Transportation Committee. Senator Dave Cortese, also present. He's the chair of the Senate Transportation Committee. Brandy Johnson, Director of Public Employees. The International Union of Operating Engineers. Talked to Brandy a little bit earlier. Thank you all for the work that you're doing, and Chaplain Mindy as well. Haven't had a chance to speak to you. Thank you for being here. And finally, a thank you to Governor Newsom, who is resolute about the urgency to end the safety crisis. I'm grateful that he leads this fight for a safer California. A tremendous thank you as well to the Sea of Orange, as was noted last year. All Caltrans maintenance workers, your chosen workplace, your daily environment entails working in close proximity to treacherous situations. Some brought on by Mother Nature, others by neglect, by individuals who've been negligent behind the wheel. This includes vehicles barreling, sometimes inches away, hour by hour from the work that you do. Please give a hand to all the women and men in orange present today. Serving the people of California, you are a public service. You are a public service at its finest. I don't need to remind anyone here today that those of these individuals chose this line of work are of a special category. They are unique individuals, heroic women and men. I also want to recognize the brethren of the CHP that was mentioned earlier. The women in brown and blue that are on the stage, they work hand in hand with Caltrans to make that transportation system as safe as it can possibly be. Please give them a hand as well. Thank you as well for all that you do. Those who have lost a loved one can attest to the sacrifice made by their beloved family members killed in the line of duty, and sacrifices made by the family as well. As it said, grief never truly dissipates. But somehow, miraculously, we find a way to go forward in our days and move around the grief. But the loss and the sadness still exist. Always. The wounds never finally close. Families of our 193 fallen, no one knows this more intimately than you do. The Caltrans Workers Memorial is certainly an essential day, a special day, designated for all of us to share in the grief together. But it's not any different from the other 364 days of the year. We know you mourn, and we mourn with you. There was someone's son or daughter or parent or grandparent, a spouse, a grandchild, a niece, a nephew, a sibling, a friend, a neighbor, a colleague. Behind every name that you see here today, there was a life being lived, stories of joy connected to each of them, memories that evoke laughter and shared experiences. We have to remember them, acknowledge them in our own way, and never forget them. As was mentioned, the black cone in the middle here represents all highway workers we've lost across the country, including contractors. Still very raw, we lost a Caltrans contractor just 10 days ago when he became pinned by a truck tailgate. Receiving such news is never less than excruciating, and we extend our deepest sympathies to his loved ones. And I stood in this very spot last year. We shared in grief that our brothers and sisters in Maryland lost 6 workers that were killed when a car slammed into their work zone. A father and a son were among those that were fatally struck. Yet exactly a year later, we're here grieving again for 6 highway workers in Maryland who recently lost their lives when the Francis Scott Key Bridge they were working on collapsed after they were struck by a cargo ship. Again, bringing home the reminder of the dangers of this work. In California, we are grateful not to have had any further employee loss in the past year. This is in solid alignment with our safety goals. But I stopped short of too much enthusiasm. Until we reach 0 deaths and serious injuries, our safety vigilance is never on pause, not for a second. On average, 12 people die every day on California's roadways. That's 1 person every 2 hours, around 4,000 a year. To put this number in perspective, I want you to imagine for a moment the bustling coastal city of Del Mar in Southern California. If the entire population of Del Mar were to be wiped out, that's the number of individuals who are killed on California's roadways every year. That's also the average number of fans attending a minor league baseball game. I use these examples to illustrate the sheer number of people, more than 4,000, who have been forever changed by their loved ones' preventable deaths every year. So we can't and we will never waver from a full-scale effort to counteract further loss. On a regular basis, we refer to the losses as a crisis, an emergency, a dire situation, and all are true. But at the end of the day, what we say and how we refer to it isn't going to reverse these unacceptable numbers, which is actually exactly why California is laser focused on doing, on action. Every plan, project, and goal incorporates safety as the top priority. Safety is our true guide, the nucleus of our work. Vision Zero is not wishful thinking, it's actionable commitment. As we continue to fight the battle of the safety crisis, this work will pay the most crucial dividends of all, people's safety. And I'm proud to say, we just received a payoff in the form of a recent encouraging report from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. Comparing roadway fatalities from 2022 to 2023, California's fatalities dropped by 9.4%. This is significant. Yes, year over year, 9.4%. That's roughly 400 fewer people who have died on our roadways in 2023. This kind of drop does not happen by chance. Our work has to remain intentional. Application of the safe system approach is serving to be an invaluable key on our path to zero. Innovation is our partner, and the human component unequivocally essential. We still have much work before us, but I stand here with you today and say with absolute conviction, we have the means, the drive, and the motivation to eventually get us to zero. This is much, much more than our aspiration. It's our expectation. There's no other option for our children, our families, all people. And while we will never bring an end to this very important day to honor our fallen, I look forward to reaching our goal of never adding another name, another orange cone. Today, as we join in our collective grief for each of the 193 workers gone too soon and shared heartbreak for their absence in our lives, I thank you for your support for one another and coming again to this very meaningful day. Thank you for all doing your part in keeping every Californian protected on our roads. Please remember to slow for the cone zone, be work zone alert. When you see amber lights, please move over when it's safe to do so, or slow down. It could save a precious life and maybe even your own. God bless you all. Thank you all for being here today. And again, we thank you, family members, for your presence. And we honor today our fallen heroes, your loved ones. Thank you.
Thank you, Secretary Tomashakin. Let me now introduce the Honorable Dave Cortese, who is the chair of the State Senate Transportation Committee. Senator.
Good morning. Thank you very much for the opportunity to be here. You know, I'm always very cautious when I'm approaching orange cones, but this is my first time at this event and the first time being here as the Senate Transportation Chair and seeing these cones with the individual names on them is not only something I won't ever forget, but will forever change the way I see these cones on my commute from San Jose to Sacramento and back every week. We're here to remember the lives of 193 people who passed while working on California state highways. They've dedicated years, some even decades, of service to Caltrans and to every Californian who uses our state highways. But they were also parents, siblings, spouses, and friends to many. From my seat here on the steps, I see one of the families with T-shirts on with a picture of somebody who was a fan of the same football team that I am. And I had to think, maybe we were sitting next to each other at a football game at one point in time. These are all personal stories. And every family in California dreads ever getting a phone call to say they've lost a loved one. So our hearts go out to those who receive those calls and those who are representing them here today. We may not have experienced the same pain, but we certainly understand the depths of it. You know, we all have tough jobs as public servants. As legislators, we deal with complicated emotional issues every day, as well as the occasional upset constituent, members of the public. But you, the workers of Caltrans, you've got a really tough job. And I believe that most all of you just want to do that job. Just want to go to work every day, be safe, and come home to your families. So I can't imagine today, or when I make my own commute, how nervous you must be working next to a lane full of speeding multi-ton vehicles with drivers sometimes only sort of paying attention. Or in the future, as we're now seeing in the legislature in California, perhaps vehicles with no drivers at all. But your work has to be done. The public is counting on it, and your dedication to the work is admirable and appreciated. A main goal of this legislature is to keep people safe, the nearly 40 million people in California. All people should be kept safe. But we especially must be affirmative in our actions, continue to be affirmative in our actions in terms of protecting Caltrans workers. We want you to be safe, just like we want kids to be safe in school, people to be safe in their homes, and workers in other endeavors to be safe in their workplaces. So when I hear about the loss of Caltrans workers from on-the-job accidents, I'm reminded that our work of keeping people safe is never done. I think we'd all agree that streets, especially highways, have unfortunately become increasingly dangerous places for all of us, drivers, cyclists, pedestrians, and especially workers. Those of us in the legislature know this, and we will continue to work with you and your representatives to make sure you've got the safest workplace possible. And thank you for the labor unions who are standing up for workers, because what we hear every day is we're here to protect jobs, but first and foremost, we as labor unions are here to protect safety. I understand the power of legislation to not only improve lives, but to save lives too. The Transportation Committee is a space to ensure that we pass responsible, thoughtful legislation. And after today, I will more than ever remember and honor these workers as I do my job. I drive our state highways regularly, as I've said. I'm grateful to every single worker who has built, maintained, and operated those state highways, but also because they allow me to safely do my job. And so I sincerely wish the same for them. Once again, to the friends and families and colleagues of these fallen workers, who are here with us today, we see you. Our hearts go out to you. I am personally and professionally sorry for your tremendous loss. These workers will not be forgotten. We will make sure they're not forgotten. And we'll make sure they're not forgotten in our actions to do what the Secretary just indicated, to do what we have to do, and to eliminate injuries and fatalities completely. That's got to be the only goal that's acceptable to us today. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Senator Cortese, for those remarks. Now, for the perspective of the California State Assembly, let me introduce the Honorable Lori Wilson, Chair of the Assembly Transportation Committee.
Good morning. Thank you for the opportunity to stand with all of you today as we remember those whose lives were sacrificed while ensuring Californians get to where they need to go safely and efficiently. This all hit really close to home for me as a new legislator in 2022 when on the way to session, I heard of my classmate, Ali Shabazz, being tragically killed, and recognize that I was in a place of privilege to be able to ensure that workers are safe. And then, like my colleague, Senator Cortese, my Senate counterpart, seeing the cones here in the diamond formation with the black ribbons of all the names of fallen workers transformed me to a place where I knew in driving on our highways and byways, I would look at those cones forever differently. I would be remiss to not honor as well the thousands of workers who put themselves in harm's way every single day to do the same, to get Californians where they need to go safely and efficiently. Highway construction and maintenance work is one of the most hazardous occupations in the United States. California is in the top 10 states in the country for the highest report of fatal injuries at road construction sites. This is not the top 10 list we want to be on. California is a leader, and we must lead in being the safest, because we know the alternative. It is why we're here today. Caltrans fallen workers are a living example of how safety must be a top state priority. We need to lead in being the safest. It takes all of us to be work zone alert, to set slower speed limits, to install traffic calmer measures, and to educate the public on each other and how to prevent traffic violence. As we reflect on the lives and legacies, let us, on this day, renew our commitment to safety. To the family, friends, and colleagues of the fallen, your loved one and sacrificed have not gone unnoticed, and as we legislate, will not go unnoticed. Again, to the family that is joining us today, whether it is someone who has been passed recently or over the years, I know today is a difficult day of remembrance. So I say to you, may the Lord bless you and keep you. May his face shine upon you. May he be gracious towards you. May he lift up his countenance upon you. And may he today and continually give you peace. Thank you for letting me be here today.
Thank you, Assemblymember Wilson. Highway maintenance employees, landscapers, and stationary engineers represent the majority of state workers who've been killed or seriously injured on California highways and interstates. Representing them today is Brandy Johnson, the Director of Public Employees for the International Union of Operating Engineers, Stationary Engineers, Local 39, AFL-CIO. Please welcome to the stage, Brandy.
Good afternoon, everyone. Hello, my name is Brandy Johnson, and I'm one of 3 directors for the International Union of Operating Engineers, who represent about 7,000 men and women who perform highway maintenance and respond to highway emergencies along the California highways. It is my great honor to represent this workforce, to fight for them, and to try to protect them. Days like today remind us that we have much more work to do. Today, we are reminded that their jobs are dangerous, not just because they're out there in record snowstorms and floods, but because they are the ones working day in and day out along the highways and the freeways at 3 a.m. with floodlights. They put their lives on the line so we can go about ours. And sometimes they make the ultimate sacrifice in this line of work, as we see today. I want to remind everyone, one moment looking down at your phone or other distractions can end a life so quickly. We must learn to take our time to be aware and to remember that the recognizable images of these workers on the highway belong to people. Please slow for the cone zone. Please allow for extra travel time to get to where you're going. One mistake can ultimately change or cost a life. These workers are not just the backdrop to the freeways we drive on. They are members of families, communities, schools, and churches. They have names and they work, and the work they provide is essential to their communities. They are our highway heroes. As a representative of these workers, we will continue to work with the Department of Transportation, along with state officials, in an effort to create legislation and other safety devices to protect the highway workers. I look forward to the day we hear no lives were lost. The public noticed and decided to drive safely so these workers can return to their loved ones like we do every day. May this memorial serve as a reminder of the grit, courage, and skill sets of these workers. They are not replaceable fixtures on the roadside. They are highway heroes by ensuring everyone can drive safely along the California highways. Therefore, may we remember all those who gave the ultimate sacrifice and do everything in our power to protect these workers. Thank you for the honor of speaking today. Thank you.
Thank you, Brandy. It has long been a tradition at the Caltrans Fallen Workers Memorial to hear from both a member of what Caltrans calls its forever families, those who've lost someone on Caltrans duty, and a Caltrans worker. This year, we have the opportunity to hear from both a forever family member and a Caltrans worker at the same time. Kyra Dillon is an equipment operator, too, on a maintenance crew in San Diego County, where she works to repair guardrails, fencing, landscaping, and the list goes on. She's also the granddaughter of fallen Caltrans bridge engineer John Gilmore Jr., who died with 2 other Caltrans employees in an on-duty car crash back in 1966. Kyra is also one of the newest members and the only current female of the Caltrans Honor Guard. I think you'll find her story and the reason she goes to work each and every day inspiring and thought-provoking. Please welcome Kyra Dillon to the stage.
Good morning. The date was October 18th, 1996, 31 years before I was born. My grandfather, John Gilmore Jr., and two of his co-workers, Bruce Cole and Percival Cuff, were driving to El Centro to inspect bridges when they were hit by a drunk driver. The car they were riding in flipped and landed in a ditch. All three perished in the incident. It made my pregnant grandmother a widow, and my uncle, who was only one at the time, an orphan. My dad was born only a few months later, and he never got to meet his father. Fast forward more than 50 years, I joined Caltrans as an intern in District 11. When I told my grandmother that I had been hired by Caltrans, she told me the story of my grandfather and his two friends. Growing up, I had heard over the years that my grandfather had worked for Caltrans, but it never really clicked with me what had happened to him until that day when she told me the story after I had joined Caltrans. That conversation changed my life and my perspective as a Caltrans employee. Because honestly, we can get complacent out there on the highways. Learning that my grandfather passed away on Caltrans duty has forced me to be safer and more aware of every potential out there. Because our lives are really on the line, and they can be taken away in the blink of an eye. I certainly wouldn't want my grandma to have to relive the pain again of losing another family member. I have since become a full-time employee and have promoted twice up to an operator 2, which I am very proud of. To honor my grandfather, this year, I applied to join the Caltrans Honor Guard because I wanted to pay tribute to his memory and to all the others who have also paid the ultimate price while working for Caltrans. It's truly an honor to be both an employee and a member of what we call the Forever Families. I stand here today representing both. My brothers and sisters throughout California who wear orange vests and hard hats, and my brothers and sisters who wear the black ribbons of sorrow. Director Tavares, I find it inspiring that Caltrans takes this opportunity each year to remember all the men and women who have died on Caltrans duty, including my grandfather. Thank you for that. If I had one wish, it would be that we never have to add another name to the list of fallen employees, that the number of Forever Families would never grow again. Even though I never got to meet you, Grandpa John, thank you for paving the way for me to be here today. I think of you every day, and I hope I'm making you proud. Thank you.
Thank you, Kyra. As Kyra returns to her position with the Honor Guard, it's now my privilege to invite to the podium her boss and all of Caltrans' boss, Mr. Tony Tavares, Director of the California Transportation Department.
Good morning, everyone. Today, I am truly grateful for the presence of the friends and family members of our colleagues who lost their lives while in service to the people of California. They have traveled from all over to join us in honoring the memories of their loved ones. So on behalf of Caltrans, I want to salute you for your courage and strength and to sincerely thank you for being here. I also want to take a moment to thank everyone on the dais here today for your continued support of our mission and to reach zero fatalities. Today, we are gathering to honor the life and light of 193 people who made the ultimate sacrifice in service to our state's transportation network. Behind every name we're recognizing is an enduring legacy that lives on in their families, communities, and each of us. While we are grateful that in the past year, not a single Caltrans employee was killed in the line of duty, however, several contractor employees lost their lives through the state and throughout the nation. They too worked alongside our employees to build and maintain a safer transportation network, and we must not forget their selfless contributions. We stand in solidarity with every family member who has been impacted by such tragedy. We are steadfast in our commitment to a transportation network where no one is killed in the line of duty or daily travel. In moments of profound loss and sorrow, we find solace in the unwavering strength of the human spirit. Mahatma Gandhi said, "In the midst of death, life persists. In the midst of untruth, truth persists. In the midst of darkness, light persists." Every life we're here to honor is a significant beacon of courage, dedication, and unwavering commitment. On this day, often cloaked in tears and sorrow, I ask that we embrace the light and life they brought into our world and every footprint they left behind. As we gather to honor the memory of every person and every impact they made, we also recognize two individuals whose stories were lost in time. Today, we pay special tribute to Donald D.W. Anderson, who served in the Bay Area, or District 4 area, and Joseph Bland, who served in the Central Valley. Though they lost their lives many years ago in 1964, the light of their dedication and the impact of the service remains quietly illuminating the lives they touched. The absence of their names among these orange cones does not diminish the significance of their contributions, nor the depth of their impact on their colleagues, families, and communities. Today, we acknowledge the sacrifices they made. We honor not only their courage and selflessness, but also the indelible mark they left on the hearts and minds of those who knew them. They say time heals all, but through my own personal loss, I don't necessarily believe that to be true. I believe loss creates a void that can feel insurmountable, but with time, that void becomes illuminated. We develop the capacity to hold space for incredible grief, yet as time goes on, we gain capacity to fully absorb the lessons and transformation loss has on everyone left behind. In my first year as the maintenance division chief, we lost 4 people in that year, and 3 of those were in 1 month. I traveled to every district and met with every crew who was in mourning and in shock. That's when I met Stephen Palmer Jr., a fairly new maintenance employee and the son of Stephen Palmer Sr., who was killed in the line of duty. Stephen Palmer Jr. is now a maintenance area superintendent who has carried on the light and legacy of his father. Stephen upholds a superior commitment to safety and serving people, which has had a resounding impact on every crew member he's trained or influenced. And since the loss of his father 13 years ago, Stephen has experienced more tragedies, and yet he continues to transform pain and loss into positive impacts in service to the people of California. Stephen is truly an inspiration to me, and stories like his, while terrible and heartbreaking, inspire me to do everything I can to ensure each of you make it home to your families every night. It was clear to me then just how serious our work is. And it was clear to me that something had to change, that safety could not just be a talking point, but a mission to save lives. This is something I take incredibly seriously, and what has fueled me for more than 15 years, as I've personally experienced the loss of 14 employees. For every dreaded phone call, every family member I've hugged through delivering such painstaking news, for every child who's looked into my eyes, knowing their lives would forever be changed, I am forever changed. For every terrible loss I've encountered, I still have the great privilege to go home to my own children, to hug them, to reassure them there are no monsters in the closet, to read them bedtime stories, and to make them pancakes on the weekends. Such simple acts that can so easily be taken for granted until those opportunities are no longer there. Reflecting on precious moments with my children amidst the backdrop of tragic loss, it becomes evident that safety is not just a slogan, but a deeply ingrained responsibility in each and every one of us. As we navigate the complexities of our work at Caltrans, it's imperative to recenter ourselves in the true essence of safety, a commitment that extends beyond more words and necessitates a holistic approach to safeguarding lives on our transportation network. Safety is our top priority. It is paramount at Caltrans. That's an expression we've used for many, many years. And I think sometimes some of us lose sight on what that actually means. To me, it is a moral obligation to every Californian, to every employee, to every person who uses our transportation network. It is a commitment to completely eradicate fatalities so that one day memorials like these are historic relics and not common practice. It requires our collective, focused commitment and a comprehensive approach that encompasses not only engineering advancements and technological innovations, but also a profound conscious shift of what safety means and what it actually takes to prevent such tragedies from occurring. To this end, we must recognize all potential hazards, including the profound importance of mental health. Just as physical safety is paramount, so too is the well-being of our minds and our spirits. The toll of stress, anxiety, and the overwhelming pressures of our modern world can be just as significant as any physical risk. We are all more distracted than ever, facing higher demands, enduring more collective suffering, and trying to be good employees, good parents, good children, good community members, and the list goes on and on and on. Let us nurture a culture of compassion and understanding and proactive care, where mental health is not seen as weakness, but where every person feels supported and valued. If you hear anything today, I need you, our employees, to know I have your back. I see your struggles. I see your triumphs. I see you. I am your voice. I will continue to speak for those whose voices are most important to be heard. And I will continue to be your advocate and foster a workplace that is committed to safeguarding not just physical bodies, but whole people through our collective human experience. Every day I talk about Caltrans as a people-first organization, and this is what it means to be people first. To recognize our own humanity, to recognize our collective suffering, and to use our losses and lessons to create a brighter future for our children and our children's children. The other day, I met Kyra Dillon, as you heard just a few moments ago. This 26-year-old member of Caltrans, but of our honor guard. As she mentioned, she never had a chance to meet her grandfather, who was killed in the line of duty. But despite the tragedy that shadowed her family's history, Kyra carries his legacy forward with grace and poise and resilience, embodying the spirit of dedication and commitment that defines our organization. As Kyra continues to advance in her career, her commitment to safety will leave a lasting impact on all of us. By honoring her grandfather's memory, she has found a way to carry the torch for her grandfather's legacy. When you look at the stories of the people we're here to honor today, they were just doing their jobs. And that should not come with the risk of injury or death. What many people don't realize is many of us owe our lives to our Caltrans maintenance crews. I've experienced that personally, and I am so grateful to the men and women who make up our sea of orange. And with each passing year, our Caltrans family continues to grow. In this expansion, safety emerges as not just a priority, but a lifeline, a sacred duty to protect the lives joining our work family. In the tapestry of our organization, every life is a thread woven with stories and journeys that define us as Caltrans. Let us pledge to deliver a system that prioritizes the safety of every employee and every person, ensuring that every journey, every story is treated with utmost care and respect. Until we get to 0 deaths on our system, our work will never be done. And I believe we are capable of reaching our goal of 0 fatalities. I believe that when we put people first in everything we do, we save lives and we improve lives. I believe that together we can overcome any challenge, bridge any divide, and build a future defined not by our differences, but by our shared humanity. In the midst of chaos, order persists. In the midst of despair, hope persists. In the midst of division, unity persists. Together, as we leave this memorial, surrounded by the echoes of those who have left their mark on our hearts and our world, let us remember the light of those who paid the ultimate sacrifice. Let us honor, respect, and remember these everyday heroes, and let us carry their light and legacy forward together. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Director Tavares. Will you now please welcome the Caltrans Honor Guard, soloist Timothy Weeks, keyboardist Anthony Johnson, and bugler Mark McCrae. They'll be performing the ceremonial cone and wreath presentation.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now am found, was blind, but now I see. 'Twas grace that taught my heart to fear, and grace my fears relieved. How precious did that grace appear the hour I first believed. Through many dangers, toils, and snares, I have already come. 'Tis grace hath brought me safe thus far, and grace will lead me home. The Lord has promised good to me, His word my hope secures. He will my shield and portion be, as long as life endures. Yea, when this flesh and heart shall fail, and mortal life shall cease, I shall possess within the veil a life of joy and peace. The earth shall soon dissolve like snow, the sun forbear to shine, but God who called me here below will be forever mine. When we've been there 10,000 years,
Thank you all for your attention during this moving ceremony. Please now welcome Chaplain Deborah Fontes, who will give the benediction.
Good afternoon. Would you please join me in a moment of prayer? Thank you, gracious Father, for your presence with us today. As we leave from here, may your strength sustain us, restore us, and inspire us. Let us go in peace, hope, and love, and may your grace abound abundantly over each one here today. May your presence be a comfort that all can rest in. It is in your great name we pray. Amen.
And as we close this year's ceremony, we ask everyone in attendance to note the damaged Caltrans vehicles out on the street. All were hit by errant drivers. To learn more about these incidents, storyboards are located next to the vehicles. In addition, there is a memorial tree located on the east side of the Capitol that also commemorates fallen Caltrans employees. If you walk to the other side of the Capitol, you can't miss it. It has an orange cone and a rose on the plaque next to it. Members of the Caltrans Honor Guard are available to escort family members and others to see it. Finally, we ask every driver in California to please drive safely throughout the state's vast highway system. It literally will save lives. Thank you all for coming today. Have a terrific afternoon.
you.